It's happening right now. It's happening to banking, and it's happening with Ripple. Blockchain, crypto, customers and suppliers are paying with it and making real-time settlements around the world. So it's happening to bonds, currency, markets, almost anything. Because if change is happening in finance, then it's happening everywhere. And it's happening with Ripple.
There you have it, folks. One of the latest posts directly from Ripple. This video is absolutely awesome because in it they tease how essentially Ripple and blockchain are changing everything from bonds to currency to markets. And then you notice how they say anything and they start to tease real estate and all sorts of other real world assets. In other words, we are on a mega bull cycle that is unlike anything we've ever seen before. And in this interview directly with Bloomberg, Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev says real estate tokenization is a freight train. They already have the work done, and now it just comes down to regulations, which means truly trillions of dollars will flow through real world assets on chain, and some of the biggest players stand to benefit. Alongside Robinhood, you have Ripple, which has been working on this key infrastructure for more than a decade now. Let's listen to what Vlad Tenev says.
And I think real estate's a big opportunity. I think it's smart that they're aggressively pursuing that because everyone wants access to high quality real estate, particularly the mass market.
But isn't it true real estate is actually more complex? I mean, they tried this before. It hasn't really worked.
It has some similarities to a private company, actually. If you think about what a real estate investment looks like, you create a corporation. Using that corporation, you acquire some assets. It has some costs, which you want to minimize as much as possible. Maintenance. It has revenues like rent, receivables, or depending on how you use it. So if you can tokenize a private company, that same technology can actually be used to tokenize real estate, be it residential, commercial, and yeah, I think we figured out how to do it. It's just a question of regulation and what the right products are for different groups of customers.
And it's not a question of if, but when, as the market structure bill is set to likely be signed into law come end of year. Here's Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong talking about clear crypto rules that are here on the horizon.
There's now one more piece of legislation that, as you said, got bipartisan support in the House already and now is being debated in the Senate. And this is what we call market structure legislation, which just simply means it's covering all of the non-stablecoin crypto assets, things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's resolving some of these outstanding issues from the last administration that got weaponized by people like Gary Gensler trying to go after the crypto industry because it wasn't clear, were these a commodity, were they a security? So this legislation is making great progress. I've never been more bullish on the chances to get it passed into law. This freight train has left the station, and there's people on both sides of the aisle in the Senate that are eager to get this legislation put on the books. Now, this hasn't stopped the big bank lobby from coming in trying to throw a wrench into things. They actually want to go in and ban rewards on stablecoins, and that was already settled in the prior Genius Act that I just mentioned. But I'm not too worried about it. The senators we spoke to aren't really going to entertain reopening that issue, and so hopefully this legislation gets passed into law very soon.
So when you really think about it, Vlad Tenev confirms through Robinhood the technology is already built. And if, by the way, if Robinhood has already built it, you can bet your butt that Ripple also has the right infrastructure and key players in place to launch at the same time we see this market structure bill launch, especially when it comes to real world assets being tokenized on chain. You're not just going to use stable coins in the case of any of these real world assets. It's likely you're going to want to transfer or trade openly any of those stable coins or profits you make in real world assets into digital currencies and cryptos. So this is the last missing piece to the puzzle, which is why Ripple launched this new webpage talking about how it's happening with Ripple and across industries, sectors, and the entire globe. Blockchain and crypto are powering new possibilities for banks, businesses, and financial institutions. And when we have total regulatory clarity, hopefully by year end, all of these different banks, businesses, and institutions are going to run to offer these products and services to a new group of clients, or better yet, their current clients will have access to new products that are far more efficient, affordable, transparent, fractionalized, and virtually everything that the blockchain has to offer. And so whether that mega bull cycle comes through infrastructure being adopted because we have regulation, or just the fact that this is the great debasement trade as more and more central banks and major investors worldwide are losing faith in the US dollar, at the end of the day, we're seeing something that we've never seen in history before. Gold is hitting new all-time highs. Bond yields are up. Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high. And virtually all other major market cap cryptos like XRP are set to follow as gold crossed 4,000 today. Now, this spike has only happened a few times in history, and it's never ended well. That said, more often than not, you have a restructuring of where wealth goes, which provides us one of the greatest opportunities in history. And when he studied and shared this, gold only pumped as hard as it does during the Roman crisis in 235 to 284 AD, during the Spanish Empire decline, the French Revolution, Weimar Germany in 1923 when there was hyperinflation, the Bretton Woods collapse, and then the Soviet Union's dissolution in 1991, over 33 years ago. And in all situations, people lost faith in their money, or better yet, fiat currency issued by their governments, and there was a flight to new or stronger assets, or even old assets like gold. In this case, we're seeing a flight to crypto and stocks and gold all at the same time, which explains why Citibank thinks we are going to see a major mega bull market cycle through 2026. Let's listen in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think going into late 26, your forecast for Bitcoin and Ether are pretty good, yes?
Not mine, but our teams. Yeah. So we're looking for continued follow through there. It kind of comes back to your discussion earlier on how to think about your alts in terms of gold and crypto. And, I think your commentary is spot on there. I mean, I think we just have to allow that. You have a very aggressive momentum driven equity market. And so I think people don't want to miss that. So you're looking for your hedging opportunity. And the way we see it, in addition to central bank buying, as you mentioned, I think that those two asset classes become hedges of choice as you're trying to navigate this ongoing strength, highly valued, but momentum-driven equity market.
So just how high is crypto going to go by the end of the year? There are a lot of theories, and arguably nobody really knows. Now, I know this has been a very video-driven video of my own, but this is a lot of news that I wanted to share before markets really pop off, because I think all of these people and key players are sharing information that's going to help us to make better investment decisions, and virtually all of them are very bullish. Now, I would argue in most cases, you want to be counter trade, right? If you see a lot of these people like a Jamie Dimon saying you should do this, more often than not, people think maybe I should go against the herd and do something else. But in this case, it's very difficult to deny the fact that we've seen a lot of underlying strength in the crypto market, even when things have been boring at times. Well, this is the CIO, Matt Hogan of Bitwise, sharing his projection and price target, and then we're going to dive into the charts.
There are two things that are going on. One is that the debasement trade has become the hottest trade on Wall Street, right? JP Morgan is writing about it. Everyone is suddenly concerned about fiat currencies. And so they all want to get exposure to the two best plays in that space, which are Bitcoin and gold. For what it's worth, I think that fact accelerates into the end of the year. One thing people don't think of much is that when institutions and financial advisors sit down with their clients at the end of the year, they want to show them that they had the hottest trade of the year. Last year, they wanted to show them that they owned NVIDIA. This year, they're going to want to show them that they own Bitcoin and gold. And so I think that's going to drive additional interest. The second thing that's driving results is just flows into Bitcoin ETFs. We've seen $3 billion in flows in the first 5 trading days of October. That's nearly a record for a 5-day period. We think Bitcoin ETFs are going to set a record for flows in Q4. We're seeing Morgan Stanley and other wirehouses coming into the space. So I'm really excited about that. Flows in the debasement trade, put them together, and Bitcoin's at 125 and going higher.
Okay, Bitcoin at 125 and going higher. The last time I talked, I think that your prediction for the end of the year was $250,000. Is that still in play?
$200,000. Don't round me up yet. We said we said $200,000 in December of 2024. And yes, I still think it's in play. What we will need in order for that to happen is to see this strong acceleration of ETF flows that I predict will happen. I think we could get $10 to $20 billion in flows in Q4 alone. If we see that and reasonable corporate and government buying, I think 200,000 is a reach, but still very much possible by the end of the year.